Good evening to one and all present here. I'm Shreyan from IETE-ISF, and I would like to welcome you all to this session of Access Denied 21, which will be on the topic of resume building. Your resume, sometimes called your CV, is your most important tool when applying for a job. It doesn't matter how qualified you are or how much experience you have. If your resume is poorly presented or badly written, you're going to have trouble getting the job you want or even an interview. But a resume is much more than that. It is the summary of your entire professional career, something to cherish and remember and preserve. To educate us more on the topic of resume building, I would like to welcome Mr. Brain Golod, the speaker for today's session. Brian is a LinkedIn influencer with more than 200,000 followers. His ATS resume has been downloaded more than 100,000 times. He has spent 23 years in the tech world and is now a career development expert. He empowers, inspires, and helps professionals worldwide to unlock their full potential and reach their dreams. We hope you have a wonderful time with him. As we progress through the session, if you have any doubts, kindly post them in the live chat for us to take it up. So without further ado, it is with great pleasure that I invite Mr. Brain Golod to take upon the session. Over to you, Brian.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I just want to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for making the time to watch. For everybody who's attending the hackathon, I wish you all the best. I hope you make the most out of this. It's an amazing experience, whether it is the first one or the 10th time that you attend. Make the most of it. Just be determined to try to add value to others. And I'm sure that you are going to get value yourself. We're going to go through how to create a purposeful resume. So level up your resume communication skills. It's so important that you understand that this is a document that represents you. Okay, it represents your experience, your expertise, your skills, and also your interests. If you can personalize your resume in a way that someone can connect with you personally, you can break that barrier. You will probably make it all the way to the top of the list. Okay. Now, before you actually make it to the top of the list, you have to pass some filters. For those of you who don't know what ATS stands for, it stands for Applicant Tracking System. So there's software that actually filters out a lot of candidates. We are going through very tough times, unprecedented times, where a lot of people are constantly applying for career opportunities or jobs that may not be suitable for them. So there's software that is helping large organizations typically filter out candidates who may not be suitable for the role. Now, sometimes you are perfectly suitable for the role, but you have the wrong document. So it is so important that you actually that you have the right document to apply with. Otherwise, you may not make it through the filter, and no one will actually end up looking at your resume with their eyes. Okay. So what are we going to cover today? There's a lot to go through. We'll try to squeeze all these in. What is a resume? Okay. What should go in my resume? Okay. Not everything goes in a resume. There's a difference between resume and CV. They're not the same. Why do I need one? How do I create it? Where do you use it? There are different use cases. When do you use one type of resume versus another? Good versus amazing. You need to have, in this unprecedented world or times, you need to have an amazing resume. Good is not good enough. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of applicants for every career opportunity, especially if you're in technology, right? But most industries have been affected by this. So, but if you are in IT, in technology, there are so many people applying for the same career opportunity. So you truly need to stand out, and your resume will help you open the door. It's not going to get you the offer. For that, you need your interview skills, which is a complete different set of skills. But your resume will open the door for you to be able to be interviewed. What don't I share on a resume? Crucial language, don'ts, negotiation skills, leaving your resume. There's so much more, okay? And how do we make it ATS compliant or compatible, okay? ATS, this is again, applicant tracking system. It's a software. Software is meant to understand, actually it doesn't understand, it processes information. And if it cannot process your information because it cannot understand it, if you cannot see it, then you actually will not make it through the filter, okay? Email templates. Okay, cold calling, follow up, thank you. It's so important that you actually reach out to people too, that you thank them for their time when they reach out to you. And then there's a Google Sheet template where we capture feedback. Okay, so let's see how far we can get in 1 hour. So what is a resume? A resume, this is a definition taken from Google. A summing up, it's a summary. Okay, lots of you probably have a resume that is 5, 10, 15 pages long. That's not a resume. That's a CV. It stands for curriculum vitae, right? That's your life. A resume is brief. It's typically 1, 2, and up to 3 pages long. 3 pages being on the longer end, on the longer side. If you can keep it up to 2 pages long, amazing. For anyone who has studied business, they want to keep it at 1 page. Typically, people who have studied business, they're expected to have a 1-page resume. Okay, so a brief written account of personal, educational, and professional qualifications and experience as that prepared by an applicant for a job. Okay, I want to highlight one thing. I want you to take this away. Please try to elevate your vocabulary. When you look at the word job here, and this is one of my pet peeves, it really, really bothers me when someone who has invested in their education and in their career, they call their role a job. You're not looking for a job. You're looking for a career opportunity, right? One that is aligned with your interests, experience, expertise, and career path. But the word job diminishes your value, how much you can bring to the table. Okay, so you can leverage this technique in your interviews when they ask you, why do you want this job? That's a different skill. Don't want to go into that too far down, but just know that you are looking for a career opportunity. You're not looking for a job. So when you make that switch in your head, in your mind, you will realize that you're looking for something that you deserve, not for something less than that. What should my resume highlight? Your knowledge, experience, expertise, curiosity, drive, aptitude, potential, growth, tangible, and accomplishments. All these different elements need to be part of your resume. So you need to, in one way, captivate the attention of the person that is reading your resume. Okay, this is assuming that you manage to pass the ATS filter. You need to ensure that the person reading your resume understands, so it has to be tangible, how much value you bring to the table. What is it that you are going to be able to do for that team and the organization? How are you going to make a transformation there? How are you going to be able to deliver whatever you are responsible for? How do you lead by example? What is it that you've done in the past that has led to growth for that previous organization? This needs to be conveyed within the first 6 seconds. Believe it or not, people don't have attention span. And when it comes down to recruiters and hiring managers, even less so. So you only have about 6 seconds to make an impression. So that resume has to be pristine, it has to be clean. You would not believe how many people send me a resume that even starts with a mistake on the name of the actual file, right? I'm talking about the actual file that you send, the PDF or the Word document that you send. That already has a mistake on the name. I received resumes that instead of saying resume, it says Ramuse, right? And then there is a space before the period, right? So you have to pay attention to all the details. Why is it so important? Because if you don't pay attention to the one document that you should have looked at so many times, you should have reviewed it so many times. If there are mistakes, typos, grammatical errors, words that should not be there, then what can we expect from the work that you do? It is of the utmost importance that you actually pay attention to every single word that appears on your resume, including the words that are outside of your resume. And to that point, it is also important that you respect the format that the job description is looking for. Sometimes they ask for a PDF document. Sometimes they ask for a Word document for that type, that format. Okay, so it's important that you understand which one of these formats they are looking for. If they don't specify, my advice to you is to always send or submit your resume in PDF format. Why? Because your resume, if you send it as a Word document, it will render differently depending on the operating system, depending on the mobile or the device type and the device size. Meaning, if you're on Windows or Mac or Android, they will render differently, right? And the last thing that you want is that this beautiful document that you've created, this resume, that it renders in a way that everything gets jumbled up. You don't want that to happen. You want to make sure that the person who's receiving your resume doesn't have to go out of his or her way to be able to visualize it correctly. When you put certain elements, and we will go through that in a moment, when you put certain elements on your resume, it will actually cause all your content to get jumbled up. So to avoid that, my advice to you is always submit it in PDF format, unless they specify to do it as a Word document. Okay. Um, yeah, that's all I want to say with regards to that. Why do I need a resume? Get invited to interviews. Okay. This again, as I mentioned before, you're not going to get the job offer. Okay. And maybe we want to get rid of that word, that career opportunity, that role. We want to get it, but your resume alone is not going to do it for you. What's going to matter when you go to that interview is your interpersonal skills, whether you're able to build rapport with the interviewer, with the hiring manager, whether you're likable, you're friendly, you're perceived as a vitamin. You want people to actually want to work with you so badly. Your resume alone is not going to do it. So if you're thinking that once you go to your interview, you just are going to go through your resume saying everything that appears on your resume, that's not going to do it. Actually, that's the opposite of what you should be doing. Okay, so you need to learn how to interview properly to be able to get that offer. So you are going to be able to justify your compensation much better if you have a resume. If you have a really good document that articulates your experience, your expertise, your knowledge, your certificates, everything that you've done, especially the value that you've been able to deliver, you will be able to justify a much higher compensation. And communicate who you are, the passion that you have for what you do, how long you've been doing it for, what other interests you have, right? You want to really connect with the person in front of you and receive an opportunity for growth. You're looking for an ascension. You want to get to another opportunity, one that is aligned with your career path, with your interests, and one that recognizes your knowledge, skills, experience, and expertise. You want to make sure that you're not staying stagnant, that you're moving laterally, horizontally. You want to move vertically, potentially. So if that's the case, you need to justify this with a proper resume. How do I create my resume? So the culture, the industry, the experience, and education, and you need to help yourself stand out. So different countries use different, I wouldn't say formats, but standards. Some countries are expected to submit this document in a CV format, okay? And there are certain elements that appear on your resume or on your CV, I should say, that should not carry over to a resume, okay? So on a resume, you will never find a photo, or you should never find a photo. Typically, the countries that are looking for resume formats, they have other standards or other regulations or other laws. So they want to make sure that they actually appreciate who you are as an employee or a potential employee, as a candidate, as a professional, based on what you bring to the table, not based on a photo, right? So a photo doesn't belong there. Your social insurance number doesn't belong there. Social security number doesn't belong there, right? Specific pieces of information that are very personal to you, they don't belong there. In other countries, that would be the equivalent of your passport or your driver's license, right? Like they don't belong there. In other countries, I've seen that people include their marital status, religion, gender, father's last name. There are so many different elements that appear on CVs that don't carry over to a resume. So it's important to understand what belongs on a resume. What belongs on a resume is just you, okay? Nothing else, but nothing that is part of your identity, okay? Your religion, your sexual orientation, your ethnicity, your color, all these things don't matter. Typically, a resume is used again by first world countries. I live in Toronto, in Canada, and they value you as a human being and for what you bring to the table as a professional. Everything else doesn't matter. Okay. So, the sections that you typically find on a resume, you have your heading, right, where you have your name, should be big, right? Like they should be able to remember it. But before I go into every single one of these elements, I want you to know that it's easy to download a template, a resume template from anywhere. You can just download it, right? You just pay $10, you pay $100. It doesn't matter how much you pay. You can just download it. There are tons and tons of websites where you can download them from. My advice to you is don't do that. When you download a template, it's typically not ATS compliant. And the fact that it is not ATS compliant means that you're going to be leaving a lot of opportunities on the table. Right now, I know that there are a lot of people from India attending this. Probably this YouTube recording will be watched by many others. But typically, people in India apply to 1,000 plus career opportunities. They just apply to everything that they come across. The key is to apply, but to apply with the right document. To apply blindly without making any progress, that's the definition of insanity. Continue to do the exact same thing over and over and over without seeing any different results. Okay? So just know that you need to have the right document to be able to stand out and to be able to, first of all, go through the filter and arrive on the other side where someone is going to look at it. Okay? I want to let you know one more thing. I know that in India, for example, a CV is expected. Now, I can tell you that there are countless people who have told me that they've leveraged my knowledge, my template, everything that I teach. And even in India, a resume actually works. Resumes work in India, in South Africa, in Nigeria, in Bangladesh, in Argentina, and absolutely everywhere. By the way, I am from Argentina. I was born and raised in Argentina. That's why, if you're noticing that I have an accent, that's where it's from. But I've been living in Canada for 17 years. And if you are looking to immigrate to Canada, let me know. More than happy to help you, point you in the right direction so that you can make it safely. Especially if you're in technology, there are so many organizations looking for this. Now, since it is in the same subject, just know that please do not apply with a CV. And one more thing, if you're applying for career opportunities from anywhere in the world, to get hired, to get sponsored in Canada, just know that a CV or a resume, it doesn't matter which one, they may not take you very far. You're just going to be wasting your time. There are many regulations as to why people need or organizations need to hire locally first to protect this country. So a lot of people come to me and they say, I've been applying to so many jobs or career opportunities in Canada, but no one pays attention. They don't pay attention because nobody knows how to hire internationally, or most organizations don't, and they are not interested. They're looking to hire right now for someone to start tomorrow, not for someone to start 6 months down the road. Okay, so I just want to make sure that you save yourself time and frustration. If you have a real opportunity to immigrate to Canada, amazing, let's make it happen. But otherwise, don't waste your time. Don't keep on applying. If you're not seeing any results, there's something that you are doing wrong, just reach out. I put on my profile on LinkedIn my WhatsApp number. More than happy to answer any questions that you have and teach you, educate you as to how to do it properly. So feel free to reach out anytime. Okay. Now, with regards to sections, heading. So again, your name, your last name, you need to have your address. Some people choose not to put their full address. They choose to put maybe their city and postal code or zip code because they don't want to reveal exactly where they live at the house where they live. And I totally understand that. It's totally fine. However you feel comfortable, it's great. Then you want to have your email address. Now, here's one thing. Don't put your email address as a hyperlink. Just every single thing, and this is the key difference between an ATS compliant resume template and one that is not, one that you download from somewhere because it looks fancy, because it has a fancy layout and fancy colors and backgrounds and so on. The difference is that an ATS compliant resume template is clean. It doesn't have any elements that don't belong there. It doesn't have any tables. It doesn't have any hyperlinks. It doesn't have any images. It doesn't have any horizontal lines going through the resume. It's clean, just completely clean. The only thing that you can play with if you want is the bolding, maybe underlining if you want. Now, I would not underline a hyperlink, making it seem like it's a hyperlink. Okay, don't do that, because otherwise the person looking at your resume will be trying to click on something that doesn't actually work. Okay, so don't do that. You can play with italics if you want. Okay, you can change the size of the font, but don't go beyond that. Just keep it at that, please, if you want to be able to pass the ATS filter. So far, so good, I hope. I don't know if there are any comments, but I hope that so far, so good. Pretty straightforward. It's not rocket science to do a resume template, okay? So you have your heading there with some of your personal information. You put your phone number there as well. And a lot of people put certain words there, right? They put email, colon, and then the email, phone, colon. It's unnecessary. This software, they understand, they recognize what the phone number looks like. They understand what an email address looks like. Now, here's one thing. A lot of people put their LinkedIn URL, and there's a couple of things that I want to tell you about this. First of all, a lot of people put a LinkedIn URL. In my case, mine is linkedin.com/in slash, not because I'm from India, it's just the way that it is. So linkedin.com/in/Brian Golod, right? Now, originally, when I got my LinkedIn account, that was not my public URL. It was linkedin.com/in/Brian Golod, and then I will make it up right now, but something like 24HJ01T. I don't know. Something that looked very messy. Okay. So you need to go out of your way on LinkedIn to clean up your URL. Okay. If your name has been taken, come up with a clever way to write it, maybe with a dash, maybe with an underscore. Figure out a way to write it differently. Maybe reverse the last name and the first name. Make sure that it's clean. It doesn't have any other characters that are unnecessary on a public URL. Okay, you can go through your settings and then you can change your public URL. Now, a lot of people include their LinkedIn handle or their LinkedIn public URL when there's nothing to look at. And remember what I was mentioning earlier? You have 6 seconds to be able to captivate the attention of the person looking at your resume. If within those first 6 seconds, someone looks at a link and then they go to that link, right? And there's nothing because you don't post, you don't write any articles, you don't engage with anybody, you're not liking, you're not commenting. Nobody's going to, the person looking at your LinkedIn profile, the only thing that they are going to be able to look at, if you have it set up correctly, is your photo, right? And now you're being based and judged based on based off of your photo. You don't want that to happen. You want them to appreciate you based on the knowledge and experience and expertise and the skills that you have on your resume, not because of your photo or because you sent someone to an empty place, right? When they look at your activity and they realize that you never contribute to any conversation, that you never add any value, then what's the point of having your LinkedIn URL? Now, you have two ways of tackling this. Way number one is you can decide, okay, I guess I'm not going to share my LinkedIn URL. That would be the least favorable decision that you can make for yourself. The best decision that you can make for yourself is to actually start engaging on LinkedIn, to start having a public profile that you're proud of, to start supporting others, sharing your knowledge, empowering, inspiring. Those are the type of people, those are the vitamins that I was referring to earlier that hiring managers would be interested in hiring. So if they see you, if they perceive you as a vitamin, okay, based on your public interactions with others and the fact that you've built a community for yourself, then your chances of at least making it to an interview will increase significantly. So if you're not active on social media, especially on LinkedIn, since we're talking professionally, I mean, I don't care whether you use TikTok and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and any other social media platform, but the one URL that you would share on your link on your resume would be your LinkedIn URL. So if that's the case, make sure that your LinkedIn profile is actually rich, that you're proud of it, that you're building community, that people support you, they can vouch for you. It's super important. Don't neglect this. Don't take it for granted. Don't say, oh, yeah, I have a LinkedIn profile. I just use it as a resume. You're doing yourself a disservice by doing this. That's my rant about LinkedIn. I absolutely love it. It changed my life. I attracted so many career opportunities thanks to LinkedIn, business opportunities, friendships, introductions. And thanks to LinkedIn, I actually managed to leave my career after 23 years of being in IT. I managed to leave to now empower and inspire other people to help them advance professionally and immigrate to Canada safely. So this is all thanks to LinkedIn. So the reason why I'm stopping there is so that you understand that if you're not making the most out of it, if you're not posting regularly, you are missing out. You're actually doing yourself a disservice. So I hope this sinks in with you. Okay. Now, your objective is the next section. Sorry, I'm super passionate about LinkedIn. Absolutely love it. your objective. You want to have an objective, okay? But it's not really objective. You don't want to call it objective. People used to call it objective, but within within that summary, professional summary, you want to be able to state who you are professionally, what it is that you do, how you add value, right? What your career has been like. Maybe like a paragraph of 5 lines, okay? Now, on the very last line of this objective, again, don't call it objective, but you want to have it there. You basically want to have that last line, that last sentence, stating clearly what it is that you're looking for. Okay. You can be specific or you can be a little bit more vague. In my case, for example, I was a product owner, I was leading software development teams. So I would say on my last sentence, I would say, looking for, or I'm looking for an opportunity to lead software development team or a software development team that strives um, to deliver excellence or deliver good quality products. I just wanted to use the word lead because I was looking for a lead role. As a product owner, I was leading a software development team. And believe it or not, this very short sentence at the end of my objective or my summary, my professional summary, it would really attract a lot of people. Okay, because I was stating exactly what I was looking for. And the interesting thing about this is that from the other side, listen, when you apply to 1,000 career opportunities, you don't want to be interviewed 1,000 times. Okay, you want to basically be interviewed by the organization that you are truly interested in. Ideally, you would not have to apply 1,000 times, but when you apply, you want the right organization to reach out to you, one that actually has an opportunity, a career opportunity that is aligned with what it is that you're looking for. If you're I'll explain the logic behind this and why you don't want to go to every single one of them. I mean, if you're invited, go. But logically, what I want to say is you want, first of all, if you're employed right now and you have to take time off, you have to travel somewhere and you have to pay for parking and this and that, you're just wasting a lot of time. You're probably taking a day off, or maybe you're taking a sick day to be able to do this. Then you're paying for gas, you're paying for parking. It's just unnecessary. If you're very clear on your resume, and again, this is within the first 1/10 of your page, okay? If you state clearly what it is that you're looking for, then only the right organizations or the right hiring managers are going to bring you in for that interview. They're not going to be wasting your time, and you're not going to be wasting their time. Okay, hope it makes sense. Summary of qualifications. So here's one thing that I've noticed a lot. I've seen a lot of people put a table right after the summary. Okay, they put a table stating all the different skills. Typically, hiring managers skip over that. They want to go and see whether you're currently employed or not. Okay, if you're unemployed, I don't want you to feel disheartened. I don't want you to feel like, okay, I guess I'm not going to get employed again because of what I'm going to state, what I'm going to share right now. But a lot of organizations, they actually privilege, or they prioritize people who are actually employed right now. And this is like dating. I know that in India there's a lot of arranged marriage, so I understand the difference in culture. Get it? I have a lot of Indian friends. Just want you to know that when you are dating, let's say that you are choosing someone and someone is choosing you, um, you when you are single, typically, it's a lot harder for the other person to see the value in you because no one is choosing you. And then all of a sudden, when you're dating, maybe there are a lot of other people seeing the value in you because first of all, you're feeling really good about yourself. And then there's someone next to you who's saying, yes, this person is valuable. So other people perceive you as more valuable because someone is already choosing you. Okay. So for people who do choose their relationships, their mates, that's typically what happens. It's happened to me. It's happened to pretty much every single person that I've ever shared this concept with, this analogy. When we are basically going after a year of trying to date someone and no one is paying attention to us, basically when we start to date, all of a sudden there are 5 other people interested in us. And we're like, how does it happen? Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? Like, it took me a year to finally find someone, and all of a sudden there are 5 more people interested in me. Makes no sense. Same thing happens with interview, with career development, with your resume. and trying to get a career opportunity. If you are currently employed, there will be other organizations interested in you. If you're unemployed, then that means that no one is trusting you right now, so it will be a lot harder to convince someone. So again, don't feel disheartened about this. There are ways to be able to go around this. But if you are currently employed, make sure that you're not wasting your time by going to interviews that make no sense. If they don't have the right role for you, if this is not an ascension, if this is no progress in your career or your career path, then there's no point in going there. Okay. Build a relationship. Maybe that hiring manager or recruiter, maybe they are able to introduce you to someone else. But there's no point in wasting time to go to a career opportunity that you don't deserve. You deserve something greater. Okay. Your education, you have to have it there. A lot of people make mistakes with regards to the order, chronological order. They start at the top with the oldest certificate or degree or whatever it is that they had, and then at the bottom they have the latest, the newest, the closest one to today. It should be the other way around. You want to see at the top the most recent one, and then at the bottom you want to see the oldest one. Same thing goes with your experience, right? At the top you have the most recent one, and then at the bottom you have the oldest one. So on a resume, you need to be consistent. On any document, for that matter, you need to be consistent. You need to have, basically, when you present this document, you want to make sure that the person is not confused. From this section to this section, all of a sudden, everything changes. The order, chronological order, the formatting, the indentation, the bolding, the italics. Consistency is key on a document, on any document. If you are going to use something, even if it is wrong, okay, let's say that typically you bold a certain word, okay, and let's say that that's not what's expected. At least if you're doing it consistently, it shows that you pay attention to detail and that you're a consistent person. It doesn't matter if it was wrong, but at least you were consistently wrong, which is great. You get points for being consistent, okay? Honors and awards, you have that there at the end as well. Relevant courses, if you've taken any. If you on LinkedIn, I mean, if you have LinkedIn, you can, on LinkedIn Premium, you can have access to relevant courses, and whenever you finish them, they get added to your profile as well. And then you have your experience and you have your skills. At the bottom of your LinkedIn profile, for example, you have your skills. For these skills, there are quizzes. I don't know if you're aware on LinkedIn where you can actually demonstrate your knowledge on each one of those skills, so that it's not just people saying that you have the skill, but you demonstrating that you actually have it, right? So whenever you finish one of these quizzes, basically you get a badge saying that you actually know what you're talking about, okay? Then you have activities and interests, or as I call it, other interests. On your resume, I highly suggest that you have other interests. Why? Because you want to connect at a personal level with the person in front of you. Once you manage, this is once you manage to pass the ATS, okay? The ATS will not care about other interests or activities and interests. The ATS will not give you any marks for this or any bonus points for this. But when you are on the desk of the person looking at it and you manage to have something in common, let's say that you like to go hiking, or you like movies, or you like listening to music, or you like photography, or you like a certain sport, cricket or Formula One, as it is in my case, whatever the case might be, there's a point in connection. You like cooking, whatever it is that you like. Now, here's one thing. Make sure that you don't put anything risky under other interests. Okay, if you like going swimming with sharks, don't put that. If you like skydiving, don't put it there. The person who's hiring you wants to make sure that on Monday morning you will show up in one piece, right? That you will be alive and ready to work, not that you are going to be beaten up by sharks or gone because you died skydiving. Okay, if you like to do that, it's great, but just measure the risk level of any of the activities that you do, and if they're too risky, don't put them on your other interests. Hope you're following me. References. You don't have to put references either. You don't even have to say references available upon request on your resume. It's understood that you will put references available upon request. I used to put it many years ago, then it became understood that this is the norm. Whenever you go to an interview, they will ask you for references, right? So it's understood. Don't waste time writing that sentence, okay? Okay, so now you have, on one side you have all these different, so these were like a standard type of resume. But on the other side, we have the actual elements that you need. So out of this, the heading, the summary of qualifications, the experience, the education, honors and awards, skills, activities and interests, and references. So not everything that I had on the other side matters. Okay. So your objective, as I was saying, should not be a section. Okay. But under summary of qualifications, you have as part of it that one sentence that states clearly what it is that you offer. Okay. Um, and for references, make sure that you just remove this as well. When do I use my resume? LinkedIn Jobs, Indeed, Monster, all these different portals. You might have other ones that you use as well. So you use it to apply there. Remember about the format. Okay. If you apply, if it doesn't state it on the job description, and one thing that you can do to never miss this is before you apply, do on a Mac, you do Command F, or on a PC, you do Control F, and then you search for the word PDF. Okay. So you just write PDF, or you clean that and you write doc, okay, or Word. And if there are no matches, if it doesn't say, or you can actually look for the word format. If it doesn't say anything about that, then it means that you're free to submit it in whichever format you want. My suggestion to you is just do it on PDF. Again, if the hiring manager or the recruiter, they are on a cab, on a taxi, or driving, or whatever it is, and they look at your application and they open the file and it's all jumbled up because didn't render, it didn't present correctly on their device, then you missed a really good chance. Who knows whether they will go back to that or not, especially if there are hundreds and hundreds of applicants. You have that person in front of your resume. Don't count on that person going back to your resume later. Hope it makes sense. Develop relationships with recruiters. You can submit this resume straight to the recruiter and they will tell you what they think about it. They will tell you whether they think that you should make any changes. In some cases, what I want to warn you is that a lot of recruiters ask you to send them your resume in Word format. Just watch out, because when you do that, they will make changes. They are free to make any changes. When you submit it as a PDF, there are no changes that they can make to that specific document. So if they ask you to submit it in Word format, ask them why. If there's anything that you'd like, or if they'd like you to change, because the last thing that you want is to be unaware of some of the changes that they've made. So if they're making changes to try to present you to someone, let's make sure that you're aware of those changes so that you can speak to them and you can prepare for them correctly for that interview, should you be given the opportunity to interview. Share with your connections via PM. So yeah, same thing. Share via PM. If you know someone, PM is a private message, by the way, on LinkedIn. If you have someone working at an organization and they're first degree connection, my suggestion is, if you've never spoken to this person, start to build a relationship. The last thing that you want to do is just reach out to people and say, do you have a job for me? Without even saying hello. Manners are incredibly important. Hello, name, right? You say hello and the name of the person. How are you? Build a relationship with a person. Don't just use them. It's not like spraying everybody with your resume, hoping for the best. No one will pay attention to you if you are doing that. The most effective thing that you can do is actually build a relationship with people and make them care for you. In order to do that, you must care for them too. You must reach out to them. You must give them some love. You must show them that you are valuable. No one is going to vouch for you and introduce you to anyone if you are not building a relationship with them. I have so many people that I help from all over the world, but they've actually made an effort to build a relationship with me. They've gotten to know me and they've gotten to know them because they opened up, because they showed me what they stand for, who they are, and the fact that they communicate well and they are professional. Even if I've never worked with them, I'm happy to introduce them to recruiters and hiring managers, but that's because they made an effort to build a relationship, right? If you ask for a favor right away, no one is going to pay attention to you. This is like a bank account. Whenever you open a bank account, you must deposit if you want to withdraw. You cannot go into a bank and say, I want to take money, and there's nothing in your bank account yet. Okay. So let's make sure that you understand that if you want to stand out, build those relationships. And my suggestion to you is build the relationships, because you never know. Long term, you never know. Especially, I will tell you, or I will advise you to build these relationships if you are currently employed and you're not looking for new career opportunities. Build the relationships anyway with any recruiters, hiring managers, and other people, colleagues as well. You never know. All these people that you've met in the past who are disseminated, they're spread across so many different organizations. You want you want to have a good relationship with them so that they think of you. And even if they don't think of you, whenever you reach out to them, if there is an opportunity to work there, that they will introduce you to the hiring manager or to the recruiter. So it's so important that while you don't need any help from them, that you're building these relationships. Keep on fostering relationships and communication. Make sure that you build trust with people, that you understand who they are. Go out of your way to help others, and then they will end up helping you. If there is a recruiter who reaches out to you, for example, and you're at the top of your game, you're doing amazingly well in your career, you have a few options. You can ignore that recruiter, pretend that they never reached out to you, right? You just ignore them, you ghost them. But basically, it's the same thing that happens on the other side. A lot of candidates, they apply and then they are ghosted. They are ghosted, when they apply, they're ghosted after the interview. My advice is the golden rule: treat others the way that you like to be treated too. So if a recruiter reaches out to you, make sure that you give them the time of the day, and you try to basically kill two birds with one stone. When the recruiter reaches out to you and you're at the top of your game, you're happy in the organization and the role and the compensation that you have, make sure that you leverage that opportunity to help both the recruiter and someone else that you know. You will look amazing in front of the eyes of the recruiter and that colleague or more that you know. Okay. And now that recruiter will know that you are unique. There are not too many people who do this. And in this world where everything is about me, 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 you going out of the way to help someone, and in this case, two people, with one action, two people, the recruiter and a former colleague or current colleague, you're actually helping two people. So the recruiter will remember you because of your gesture. Okay. And you can say it kindly and with with appreciation. Hey, I just want to let you know that I am really good where I'm at right now, not looking for any career opportunities. However, I want to help you because I know a lot of people in the industry, and I know some people who are really a good fit for that role that you shared with me. Let me reach out to them and see whether they would be interested in this role, and then I can make the introduction. Okay. Don't just give any names of anybody without checking with them first. You also want to make sure that the person that you're referring to, this recruiter, that they appreciate you and your gesture. Okay, so that they remember that you've actually gone out of your way to help them. And now you have two people. It's happened where someone didn't want this story actually happened where someone um, was not interested in an opportunity, and then he referred a friend of his or a colleague of his, and then this other person ended up getting the opportunity at that new organization, and that colleague ended up bringing this person over to the organization once he was able to confirm from within that it was an amazing opportunity. So it happens all the time. So do that. Keep on building relationships. Okay. Careful when sharing it publicly. Be very careful. A couple of things about sharing it publicly. Um, you want to make sure that, first of all, if you're sharing your resume publicly, well, you should not have any of your sensitive information, right? Like we were saying, no passport number, no driver's license number, no marital status. None of this information that is private to you should be public, including your address. There's a lot of blackmail. There's a lot of people trying to do social engineering. Social engineering is basically figuring out details about you and then hacking into your account, maybe your email address, your bank account, because they know the answers now to your secure questions. You know, when you open for example, an email, and it asks you to set your private questions, your security questions, and then they ask you what is your marital status. Maybe that's one of them. Maybe what is the last name of your father, right? And now you have it on your resume, and now you have it on your security question of your email. So now someone can do social engineering and figure out how to get into your email. But this doesn't happen just with emails; it happens with bank accounts as well. So be very careful about this. Uh, the other reason is if you're actually currently working somewhere, anything that you actually do on LinkedIn is seen publicly. So I can go into any of your profiles, and I can look at your activity, what you liked, and what you commented on. I can see your posts. So if you're working somewhere, even if you don't have anybody, if you're not connected to anybody working in your organization, they can still go to your profile and they can see what you have liked and commented on. So careful with what you say about your organization, any polarizing views about anything, politics, religion, whatever it is. Be very careful about what you do on LinkedIn. Doesn't mean that you have to be scared about it. Just be mindful of what you're saying. Okay. Let me see. Good versus amazing resume. So lacks required sections. So this would be good. Lacks required sections, poor order of sections. There are people who mix up all these sections. There are inconsistencies throughout the resume. I mentioned that earlier. Whatever it is that you do, currency, date format, bolding, italicizing, whatever it is that you do, make sure that you are consistent, or at least, yeah, consistent. Even if you're wrong, just make sure that you're consistent. Okay. Plain language. Okay. The verbs that people use are very, very simple. These need to be powerful verbs, and every single one of these bullet points, they must start with a powerful verb. I have a list of 185 powerful verbs. More than happy to share it with you. Send me a private message. If you send me a connection request on LinkedIn, I cannot accept it, by the way, because I have 30,000 connections. I'm maxed out. Even if I try to press the accept button, it doesn't allow me to accept. So just want to let you know. But if you send me a private message, or if you send me a personalized invitation, a connection request, then I can at least see that you've attended here, that you've seen what I'm sharing, and that you want what I can help you with. Um, just one more thing before I forget is that on LinkedIn mobile, on the mobile application versus the desktop or the website, it works differently in the sense that when you send a connection request on mobile and you press connect, it doesn't prompt you for you to write something, for you to write a message. Whereas when you do it on the on the desktop, on the web, on the website, when you hit connect, it prompts you with the ability or the option to write a message. Okay, so at that moment you can write something. So a lot of people, I have like 6,000 people still that are pending me to accept, but I cannot accept them. I don't even know what they want from me because they don't actually write a message. So if you do it on mobile, you have to go out of your way. You need to go to the person's profile, click on more, and then click on personalized invite. Okay, and there you write whatever it is. Okay, use those characters wisely because it's not too many characters. When you do it on desktop, on the website, you click connect, then it prompts you with that message. Always use it. Write something, attach something, introduce yourself, say what it is that you're looking for. Otherwise, people are not going to accept you. Okay. Um, Style overpowers content. So that is on a good resume. On a good resume, uh, the layout is more important than the content, but it shouldn't be that way. It should be the other way. Your content, which is should be articulating your knowledge, skills, experience, and expertise. That is way more important than the actual layout of the template. Anyone can purchase a layout. Okay, it doesn't matter how much you paid, but the layout itself doesn't say anything about you. So what's important is the actual content. And then inefficient planning of space. I'll give you a couple of examples that come to mind. For example, when I see that um, there are people who write bullet points, and let's say that your bullet point goes over one line. There's a difference between writing a bullet point that takes the entire two lines versus one that takes one line and one word, right? So plan your space carefully. Make sure that whenever you write a paragraph, let's say for your summary at the top of your resume, like we were saying earlier, where you include your objective, make sure that you take up every word you can. Okay, doesn't mean that you have to add unnecessary words to just write more, but try to deliver as much value as you can on that paragraph. Same with the bullet points, same with everything. Don't just end with just one word because you're basically killing all that extra space. You're not going to be writing anything there. And it's important that you maximize your space. Okay. This doesn't mean that you should jumble up everything onto one page. You need to give it enough room to breathe. Sometimes I open a lot of resumes and And to me, it looks like a sea of characters. Basically, it's full of characters. I'm like, oh my god, this is overwhelming. So give it some room to breathe. But giving it some room to breathe and separating your job, like your career experience, your summary, your header, this will cost you some space. So let's make sure that your bullet points don't kill unnecessary space. That wrapping around and going over by just one word means that you're just wasting extra time, extra space that you shouldn't have. You could have saved it for something else. Okay. Too light or too heavy. Okay. So that's a good resume. Um, an amazing resume is purposeful. You are stating what it is that you are and what it is that you're looking for. Okay, it just flows from one section to the other. You have the person want to read what else you've done, what else you know. Okay, how much more value you've added. It has to be very tangible. I'll give you examples in a moment about how to make it tangible. It has to be consistent. Your language, your grammar, your verb tense, for example, your current. If you're currently working, you want to make sure that your verbs are in present tense. Um, if you already finished doing that work, then you want to make sure that they are in the past. Okay, uh, you just want to be consistent. There's no need to use the ing at the end of every single one of the verbs that you use. So, for example, you can say develop versus developing, right? So if you want to be efficient with the use of your space, make sure that you use verbs that are in present tense, simple present tense, okay? Carefully chosen vocabulary. Make sure that you use words that elevate you as a professional. Make sure that you use powerful verbs. Every single one of your bullet points must start with a powerful verb. If you don't have them, ask me. um, there are a lot of people who write responsible for, right? And responsible for doesn't say much about this. What is it that you actually did that added value, and how tangible was that value? What is it that it did for the team, for the organization, how it impacted the ROI, the return on investment? What is it that it did in terms of quality? Just give me numbers, give me something that demonstrates that you actually were passionate about whatever it is that you did in that organization or whatever it is that you do. Plain style, top notch content. Like really, your resume, your ATS resume template should be so plain that you're like, is this it? Like, is this a resume? Yes, that's the feeling that you need to get, because there should be nothing else distracting the person. It should be the content and the content only. The layout, first of all, the layout, if there is a layout that has tables or columns, that will actually kill the ATS. Okay. The software is not prepared to go in and extract all the content. So sometimes you put a table, it breaks everything that is within, sometimes everything that is out or next or after that table. The same with a ruler. Maybe you put a line, horizontal line, it just breaks everything that comes after. So if you want to truly pass the ATS, make sure that it is in plain style. Also, the hiring manager will see that you're not trying to fluff your way through. You're not trying to use something else other than your experience to be able to get that career opportunity. Okay. Bullet points look like artwork. Take pride in your writing. Make sure that you're maximizing your lines, like I was mentioning earlier, and that you're right consistently. That it's beautiful to look at, that you organize them in a way that is important. Um, you want to put at the top of every single one of your experiences what's most important for that role. Okay. When you look at a job description, they are telling you what it is that is the most important thing for them and what's the least. The most important aspect will be at the top and the least important will be at the bottom, either because they planned it and they looked at everything and they resorted them that way, or because the hiring manager, when he or she wrote that job description, um, just came out that way. And basically, from the top of their minds, they said, this is the most important thing, and this is the next one, right? Maybe they didn't put much effort into figuring out what's the most important thing for them, but um, the way that that job description is written is telling you what's most important for them. So try to match the order of what you wrote on your resume with the job description that you're applying for. Now, if you are consistently updating your resume for every job description, I can tell you, you're wasting your time. There's no need to do that. There are ways to be able to write a resume that is a perfect match for every job description out there, for every career opportunity within a certain role. My advice to you is focus on a specific role. Okay. The role, in my case, I was a product owner while I was in technology. A product owner at company A, B, or C, they're the same role. Okay. So find a role that is ideal for you, that you think that you are suitable for, and then craft a resume that is suitable for every organization. Okay. Going from one organization to another is not going to change the role. It's the exact same thing. So come up with one resume and stop updating it for every single job description that you see. It's frustrating, time consuming, and you're just constantly changing everything so that you don't know really at the end of the day what works and what doesn't, because you're constantly changing it. Are we good here, or we pause? I know that we have 3 more minutes. What do you think? We're good? There's so much more, but I don't think we can fit all this in. There's a reason why people come to me, because this is a complex subject. Any questions from anyone?
Yeah, I'll ask you a few questions. Hey, can we, put our GitHub link, since it's a technical, if you're applying for a technical role, can we put our GitHub links on link instead of
I would
LinkedIn?
suggest, great question. You can put it, but I would suggest not hyperlink them. Okay, just put the
Okay.
link. If someone wants them, just they will copy and paste.
Okay. And I have one more question.
Yeah.
Like, should we, give more preference to the more recent work that we have done in our resume, or should we include more important or better work which was done a long time back?
My advice is to have consistency across all the different job experiences that you've had. So I try to count how many items I have. I don't want to put 8 on one, or 10 bullet points on one, and then 4 on the next one, and then 6 on the next one, and then 2 on the last one. I want to make sure that they see me as someone who has been consistently investing and being able to extract the most experience out of every single one of these career opportunities that I've had throughout my career. So if on my most current one, I have 8 bullet points, I would, one way or another, I will try to make sure that on my previous one, I have 8 bullet points, and the previous one as well. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And now here's one tip. I hope that everybody loves this one. I have so many, but it's just impossible to give all this in 1 hour. Let's say that you have 16 points on the first one. Okay. And you realize that you have, I don't know, 4 on the next one, and then 4 on the next one. Okay. I'm talking about bullet points. One of the things that you can do is you can look at what it is that they are looking for. And let's say that on the job description, they're looking for 8 things. Okay. One of the things that you can do is take out of the first one, take the bullet points out of it. And as long as they fit, as long as they seem like they suit the previous job experiences that you've had, take those bullet points and put them on the other previous experiences. So now instead of ending up with 16, 4, and 4, you end up with 8, 8, and 8. Okay. So the bullet points that you had an excessive amount of bullet points on the first career experience that you had. Just take some and move them over to the next one, and then move them over to the next one as well. Okay. So you have, instead of having 16, 4, 4, now you have 8, 8, 8. Make sense?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. Awesome. And now, sorry, last thing. When they ask you during the interview to justify what it is that you did, you better be prepared to talk about this, because you know that you've actually done it on this current role. You're moving it over so that you actually pass the ATS and you get through the interview. So whenever you come to the interview, make sure that you can actually justify what you're saying. Okay, you've actually done that particular bullet point as part of the previous role, not as part of the current one. Okay.
Okay, now I think we've come to the end of our session. So I'd like to express my sincere thanks to Mr. Brain Golod for taking out his time to enlighten us all. Thank you, sir. So just a point of information for those who have not submitted their videos and GitHub URLs for check-in number 2, this is your last chance to do it. we have extended the time for submission to 10:30 p.m. Access Denied is a 36-hour hackathon conducted by IETE-ISF that is ongoing now. There are exciting cash prizes awaiting. The winner will get 20,000, the runner-up 15,000, and the second runner-up 10,000 rupees. There are also track-specific and other special mention prizes along with it. We will be having similar sessions like this throughout the period of this hack. I once again thank Brian for enlightening us. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Meet you soon in the next session.
Good luck.